It was a routine security check. 3 of us were assigned to inspect SCP-173 containment cell. I was with Michaels and Rodriguez, both seasoned vets who had done this a dozen times before. The procedure was simple. 2 keep constant eye contact with the thing, while the third person blinks, rests, or handles the task. Michaels went in first. We shuffled in behind him, guns loaded but useless. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears as my eyes locked onto SCP-173, the grotesque concrete sculpture with spray-painted features. It was unnerving how still it was, like it was waiting. "Ready?" Michaels asked, already staring at 173. "Ready," I whispered, not trusting my voice. Rodriguez and I took our positions, eyes wide open, unblinking, staring directly at the statue. "Switch," Michaels called. I blinked, fast. We had practiced this 1,000 times, but no amount of training could make you feel safe standing in a room with SCP-173. As my eyes adjusted after the blink, I could still see Rodriguez watching the statue like a hawk. Michaels was doing the same. We had a system, a rhythm. The key was to avoid mistakes, but no amount of training can prepare you for the unpredictable. Then, it happened. A flicker. The lights dimmed for just a second, a fraction of a second, but that was all it took. A sudden rush of air and the sickening scrape of concrete against metal filled the room. I knew in that instant we had failed. Rodriguez let out a muffled grunt. I turned, eyes wide in disbelief, and there it was, SCP-173. Just inches from Rodriguez, its arms around his throat. The last thing he ever did was blink. Rodriguez dropped like a rag doll, his neck snapped at an unnatural angle. His body collapsed. The sound of his lifeless form hitting the concrete echoed in the cold, sterile chamber. My heart seized. We had lost Rodriguez in a matter of seconds. Michael's eyes darted back to SCP-173, which was now standing there, motionless again, almost as if it hadn't just taken a life. The procedure, the years of training, it all unraveled the moment the lights flickered. Now it was just Michaels and me, alone in that room with this thing, and it was closer than ever. "Michaels, what the hell do we do?" I whispered, my voice cracking. My hands were trembling now, and my eyes were burning from not blinking. I tried to stay focused, but all I could see was Rodriguez's body, twisted and broken. "Keep looking at it, keep your eyes on it, do not look away," Michaels said, though I could hear the fear in his voice too. I felt trapped, completely trapped. I couldn't move. If either of us blinked at the wrong time, SCP-173 would be on us. But I couldn't hold out much longer. My eyes felt like they were on fire, my vision starting to blur. I blinked rapidly, but never at the same time as Michaels. "Rodriguez is gone, but we can't stop. We get out of here by the book," Michaels said, though he didn't sound convinced anymore. My eyes are burning," I muttered, the panic settling deep in my bones. "Switch on 3, Michaels said quickly. 1, 2, 3. I blinked hard, faster than I ever had in my life. Michaels stared into the concrete face of SCP-173, his eyes wide, unflinching. But it wasn't enough. The strain was getting to both of us. I knew we couldn't keep this up for long. The worst thing that can happen when dealing with SCP-173 is an equipment malfunction. The containment cell relies on high-power military-grade lighting and backup generators. But even those aren't perfect. The lights dimmed again, this time longer, just long enough for panic to set in. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, my stomach churning with fear. As soon as the light flickered back, SCP-173 had moved again. It was now halfway across the room. Too close. It's getting too close. "Michaels!" I shouted, my voice rising in terror. He saw it too, his face pale, eyes wide as if he were already seeing his fate. He gulped down a sharp breath. "We have to make it to the door. Slow. We don't break eye contact," Michaels whispered through clenched teeth. We began backing up toward the exit, our eyes glued to SCP-173. Every step felt like a lifetime. Every creak of my boots on the floor felt like it would be my last. I could feel the tension between us, the overwhelming dread, and the oppressive silence in the room except for the faint hum of the lights. But the worst hadn't even come yet. A loud click echoed through the chamber, the sound of the electrical grid shutting down. The lights were out, plunging us into pitch black darkness. I froze, not breathing, knowing that this was it. The generators should have kicked in immediately, but they didn't. It was so dark that I couldn't even see Michael standing next to me. My breathing became shallow, every nerve in my body screaming to move, to run, but I knew the second I did. "Do not move!" Michael's voice came through the blackness, but he sounded farther away now, his voice shaky. We stay still. We wait for the lights. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, drowning out every other sound. The silence was suffocating, interrupted only by the occasional scraping noise. SCP-173 moving in the dark. It's moving. I squeezed my eyes shut, teeth clenched, waiting for the inevitable. And then, without warning, I heard a crash. The lights flickered on, dim and sputtering, but I saw it clearly. Michael's was on the ground, his neck twisted grotesquely, his eyes still wide open, staring into nothing. SCP-173 stood over his body, closer than ever. It's just me now. My breath caught in my throat. I was alone in this room with this thing, and it was right there. For a moment, I thought about making a run for the door, but I knew if I looked away, if I even blinked, it would be the end. I stood frozen, staring at SCP-173, knowing that I was trapped. My vision was blurring again. How long could I go without blinking? I knew what was coming. My eyelids were heavy. I couldn't keep them open any longer. The pain in my eyes was unbearable, the dryness searing into my skull. I tried to think, tried to find a way out, but there was nothing left. I backed up slowly, step by step, trying to keep my eyes on SCP-173, but the cell door was too far, and I was losing hope fast. I had no choice. I can't do it. I can't hold out. The lights flickered again. My vision tunneled. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing in my ears. I couldn't do it anymore. I had to blink. I blinked, and the last thing I saw was SCP-173 standing right in front of me. When I woke up, I wasn't dead. It didn't make sense. I was certain SCP-173 had killed me. My neck wasn't broken. My body wasn't twisted into a heap on the cold floor. I blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of my surroundings. The room was different, darker, quieter, but I could still smell the staleness of the air, the metallic scent of fear. I was in a cell, not just any cell though. I could see through a narrow, reinforced window that this was another containment chamber. My head throbbed, memories crashing into my mind. Michael's, Rodriguez, the lights flickering. I had blinked, and yet I was alive. There were footsteps outside the door, then the sound of voices muffled by thick glass. The door opened with a hiss, and a figure entered, dressed in the familiar tactical gear of the SCP Foundation, helmet obscuring their face. A bright flashlight shined directly into my eyes. I winced. Where am I? My voice was hoarse, raw from panic. "You're alive," the figure said, ignoring my question. "We weren't expecting that." "What do you mean?" I rasped. I thought SCP-173? The figure pulled off the helmet, revealing a stern-faced woman, her expression unreadable. "SCP-173 didn't kill you." She paused. "Not yet, at least." My stomach twisted at her words. "What do you mean, not yet? Where am I?" She studied me for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell me. Finally, she spoke. "You're in a new containment area, but not for SCP-173, for you." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. "Me? Why? Do you remember the last thing before you passed out?" She interrupted. I tried to recall the final moments, the flickering lights, Michael's dead on the floor, and then the moment SCP-173 had been right in front of me, close enough to feel its presence. I had blinked, and then everything went black. I blinked. I thought it would kill me. Her expression hardened. It should have. 173 kills instantly if it's not being observed. But here you are, you survived. She leaned in closer, her eyes piercing into mine. Do you know what that means? I shook my head, feeling my body grow colder. No? It means you're an anomaly now. The words swirled around in my mind, not making any sense. Me? An anomaly? That was impossible. I wasn't like SCP-173. I wasn't dangerous, or at least I didn't think I was. Something changed during the incident, the woman continued, her voice clinical, detached. We don't know why yet, but SCP-173 didn't kill you, because, in some way, it can't. You've either developed an immunity, or worse, a symbiotic relationship with it. My skin crawled at the thought. What are you saying? We're still testing theories. Right now, you're too valuable to eliminate. She tapped on the tablet in her hands, displaying security footage of the chamber where I had been trapped with V. I watched in disbelief as the video showed the moment the lights flickered, and there I was, frozen, eyes closed for much longer than I remembered, yet still alive. In the footage, SCP-173 didn't move toward me. It simply stood there, unmoving, as if watching. You're going to stay here for a while, the woman said, turning toward the door. We'll keep you in observation until we figure out why SCP-173 didn't kill you. And if you're lucky, we might learn something new about both of you. Panic surged through me. Wait, you can't just leave me here? What if I'm still in danger? She paused, her hand on the door. You're safer here than anywhere else, trust me. Before I could respond, the door slid shut with a final echoing clang. I rushed to the window, banging on the reinforced glass, but she didn't turn back. I was alone again, but this time not with SCP-173, or so I thought. The room fell silent, the air unnervingly still. I paced around the small space, my mind racing. They had locked me up like some sort of monster, but I wasn't a threat. I was just lucky, or unlucky, depending on how you looked at it. I didn't feel different, but that's when I saw it. Out of the corner of my eye, the shadows seemed to shift. It wasn't the usual flicker of the overhead lights. No, this was deliberate, intentional. My breath caught in my throat as I turned to face the far corner of the room. There, in the dim light, something was wrong. A shape. A familiar, horrifying shape. SCP-173. But this time, it didn't move like it was confined by the rules I had been taught. It wasn't just waiting for me to blink. It was watching me, actively watching, aware of my every breath. And then, for the first time, I heard it. A whisper. Low and raspy, echoing off the concrete walls. It spoke. The words were unintelligible at first, but they grew louder, clearer. You belong to me. I froze, my blood running cold. This wasn't just an ordinary SCP anomaly. It was connected to me now, somehow, in ways I couldn't begin to understand. I stumbled back, pressing myself against the door, eyes wide and fixed on the figure. What do you want? I whispered, terrified. No response, only silence. SCP-173 stood as it always had, motionless. But now, I knew something had changed between us, something I couldn't escape. The realization hit me like a wave. I wasn't just an observer anymore. I was part of the anomaly, and no one escapes SCP-173. Time passed slowly, days, weeks. I wasn't sure anymore. The whispers never stopped, and neither did the sense of SCP-173 watching me. Sometimes I would blink, daring it to move, but it didn't. Instead, it remained eerily still, like a predator toying with its prey, waiting for the right moment. The Foundation staff visited daily, running tests, collecting data. They observed me just like they did with SCP-173, treating me like I was some new anomaly. Maybe I was. And every night, I heard the whispers again. You belong to me. I tried to fight it at first, tried to stay sane, but after a while, the lines between SCP-173 and I began to blur. Was I still human, or had I become part of the SCP that I had once feared? There is no escape from SCP-173, not for me, not anymore. This is my last entry, my final report. I don't know how much longer I can hold on, But if you're reading this, beware. Something is changing inside me. I'm not sure how much time I have before I become just another anomaly, another threat to be contained. The last thing I see before I close my eyes tonight is SCP-173 standing in the corner. And the last thing I'll ever hear is the whisper in the dark. You belong to me.